What if the flight meant to take you to safety became your final journey? A cursed flight, a midnight takeoff, and a nightmare at 30,000 feet? Flight 616 isn't just haunted, it's hunting. It was a quiet night at Chicago International Airport. The terminal buzzed with the low murmur of tired travelers. Flight 616, a red-eye bound for London, was boarding its passengers. Midnight departures had their own peculiar atmosphere, quiet, eerie, and unsettling. Captain Arnold Mason, a veteran pilot with 30 years of experience, greeted passengers as they filed in. Despite the hour, he felt a strange tension in the air. His co-pilot, Karen Hughes, noticed it too. As they prepared for takeoff, she mentioned the unusual weather. "There's a dense patch of fog near the runway," Karen said, frowning at the radar. "It wasn't there an hour ago." "It's nothing we can't handle," Mason replied with forced confidence. The plane was full, though neither Mason nor the crew remembered seeing the last few passengers board. Among the crowd were Sarah, a nervous flyer clutching a rosary, Victor, a businessman glued to his laptop, and a young boy named Peter holding a battered teddy bear. As the plane taxied onto the runway, an inexplicable fog rolled in, enveloping the aircraft. The control tower cleared Flight 616 for takeoff, though their radios crackled with static. When the plane lifted off, the passengers exhaled in relief, but unknown to them, their nightmare was just beginning. An hour into the flight, strange things began to happen. The cabin felt unnaturally cold despite the heaters running. Lisa, one of the flight attendants, noticed condensation forming on the windows, a phenomenon impossible at their altitude. The in-flight entertainment screens glitched, displaying static or distorted images. Passengers chalked it up to technical issues, but Lisa couldn't shake the feeling that something was watching her. Then came the first scream. A man in row 16 bolted upright, clawing at his chest. "It's here," he shouted, his voice shaking with terror. "Get it off me." Flight attendants rushed to his side but found nothing wrong. The man's breathing slowed and he collapsed back into his seat, pale and trembling. "It's watching us," he whispered. Passengers exchanged nervous glances. Sarah tightened her grip on her rosary, silently praying. Peter, the young boy, whispered to his teddy bear, his eyes fixed on the empty aisle. Lisa's unease deepened when she noticed row 13, an ominous number, had an extra seat. The manifest showed no one was assigned to it, yet it was occupied. The man sitting there wore an old-fashioned suit, his face obscured by shadows. Lisa approached cautiously, her voice shaking. "Sir, can I assist you?" The man turned slowly, his neck cracking unnaturally. His eyes glowed faintly in the dim cabin light. He smiled, his lips stretching far too wide. "You shouldn't be here," he whispered. Lisa stumbled back, her heart racing. When she blinked, the seat was empty. The cabin descended into chaos. Passengers began seeing things, shadowy figures moving in the aisles, distorted faces in the windows, and reflections that didn't match their movements. Sarah screamed when her rosary snapped, scattering beads across the floor. Her in-flight screen displayed her face, but it wasn't hers. It was grinning. Peter tugged at his mother's sleeve. "The man in the suit says he's cold," he whispered. His mother turned to see the empty seat beside her, but her son's teddy bear was now soaked, dripping water onto the floor. In the cockpit, Captain Mason struggled to maintain control. The instruments malfunctioned, the altimeter spinning wildly. Every attempt to contact the control tower was met with static and faint cries for help. Karen pointed to the radar. We're flying in circles. The plane isn't responding to course corrections. Mason's knuckles turned white as he gripped the controls. Something doesn't want us to leave. Desperate for answers, Lisa and another attendant ventured into the cargo hold. The air was thick and suffocating, and the shadows seemed to move on their own. In the corner, they found an unmarked crate leaking a dark, viscous liquid. The crate was bound with rusted chains, and its surface was carved with strange symbols. Against better judgment, they pried it open. Inside was a collection of personal belongings, photographs, trinkets, and a tattered journal. The journal told the story of Flight 616's maiden voyage decades ago. A mob had accused a passenger of a terrible crime and lynched him mid-flight. The man's dying curse tainted the plane, turning it into a vessel for collecting souls. The journal ended with a chilling warning. The flight is theirs now. They hunger for replacements. Destroy the crate or join their collection. The crate slammed shut on its own, and the cargo hold lights flickered violently. Shadowy figures began to materialize, passengers from decades past, their faces twisted with rage and sorrow. "Give us one!" they chanted, their voices blending into a terrible roar. Lisa and the attendant fled to the cockpit, clutching the journal. Mason read the final entry, his face pale. "If we destroy the crate, will it end this?" "We don't have a choice," Karen said, her voice trembling. The plane shook violently as the shadows surged forward, clawing at the cockpit door. Lisa and Karen doused the crate in jet fuel and ignited it. The flames roared, consuming the crate and its contents. The shadowy figures screamed as they dissolved into smoke. The cabin fell silent and the plane steadied. Relieved, the crew prepared for an emergency landing. But as the plane descended, the world below seemed wrong, dark, desolate, and devoid of life. The plane landed with a jarring thud on an abandoned airstrip. A fog surrounded the aircraft, and the lights on the runway flickered ominously. Passengers stumbled out, dazed and shaken. Sarah clutched her broken rosary, her lips moving in silent prayer. Peter held his teddy bear tightly, his eyes wide with fear. But as Mason exited the cockpit, he froze. Through the cockpit window, he saw his own reflection. But it wasn't his face. It was the man in the suit, smiling. In the distance, a faint whisper echoed, "Another seat is open." Some journeys never end, and some flights are never meant to land. Would you dare to board Flight 616?